Welcome to CISO's Insiders podcast, powered by GRC Consulting. In this podcast, we'll be interviewing leading CISOs and security leaders in the industry for light, eye-level conversations. Here, they share advice and tips, talk about their biggest accomplishments and failures, favorite drinks, key influencers, and much more. We encourage you to walk away with at least one insight that will help you better yourself or your business. Thank you for joining us, and we hope you enjoyed today's episode. For more content, please check us out on social media.
Welcome, everybody. Today I'm speaking with Paz Shwartz. And to be honest, I've known Paz for probably a decade now, or even more than that. I've never actually looked into your bio, Paz. So I see that, well, obviously I knew that you grew from the IT and into the cybersecurity world. You have probably more than 20 years experience as a professional in the field, out of which you've spent at least a decade or even more than a decade as a C-level executive in a few very impressive companies, one of which was actually acquired a few years back. If you wanted to step in, introduce yourself, that would be excellent.
Yes. Okay. So thank you for having me in this amazing podcast that you are doing. To be honest, we know each other for several years, as we said. But yes, I'm in the industry for the last 22 years. Before this, I was working for the Israeli government, and I start my role in the IT let's say profession. Started with MCSC, and then I was working for Microsoft, and then for Playtech, and later on I jumped into more executive roles in the travel industry. So yes, you're correct.
Okay, thank you for that so much. And so, just to weave a thread here, you've started off as an IT executive, moved up to a C-level executive, still in IT, then transitioned into cybersecurity, held a very high-level role in a few companies, and right now you are actually a co-founder and the CEO of a cybersecurity company, and as such, you provide various cybersecurity, and information security services, as well as a virtual CISO service. So we'll probably pick your brains on that, and about the transition from being a high-level employee in the industry to actually a founder of a company that provides such services. And with that, I always like to start off with a couple of icebreaker questions here to get our listeners, to get a chance for our listeners to get to know you better. If you're willing to share your marital status and your favorite drink.
Okay, it's nice that it's coming in this combination, your marriage status and your drink. Okay, so. I'm married in the second time to an amazing woman named Irena. We have 4 kids together, and the favorite drink probably going to be a whiskey, a single malt whiskey. I'm sure that you appreciate the flavor of it. So yes.
Yeah.
If you will ask me which one, I will say I will go to the Japanese spectrum, like Hibiki or something like this.
Nice. Yeah, and definitely single malt is on the top of the list in terms of the of the answers that I'm getting, and it's my favorite drink as well. I'm more lined up with the Scottish brands, but to be honest, I haven't tasted too many of the Japanese ones, so I might be in for a surprise. But with that, we can get started. And again, the focus of this podcast would be to uncover you and your journey, and to get some experience sharing from you to better educate our listeners. And with that, let's dive right in. If there's one thing you wish you had known before you begin your career, what would that be?
I probably will jump earlier. My story with the IT world and the cybersecurity, it's something like 180 degrees from what I was doing before. That it was more of a physical security, more of a government agency that I used to work for. And I jumped into the cybersecurity or the IT in the beginning because I heard people talking about computers, and this is what brought me in to start working on this. So probably I will do it. I will done it earlier if I was exposed to this in the first place. But in my case, I got exposed to this only in the age of 27, 25, 27, something like this. So yes, if this is what I'm regret for, this is that I didn't dive in first.
Mm-hmm. Okay, got it. And looking back at your career, what can you identify like a single biggest failure, and what did you learn from it?
Yes, I used to work for a company that was purchased by Microsoft. The name of the company was GTECO. And one of the things that that I've been asked to do as the IT manager or the system administrator over there is to do some kind of a migration for Exchange Server into the Microsoft environment. And after this, in order to make sure that people will not use the old GTECO server, I was needed to remove the the permission from the old server that people will not be able to connect. And you know, in a minute that you didn't think about what you're doing, and I remove administrator. And when you remove administrator from Exchange 2003 or 2000, that's it. And end of story, it's dead. So you cannot do anything. For my good sake, it was that after we migrate everybody into Microsoft, so there was no damage that was happened. But this teach me a lesson, and this is to think before you click on it on everything. And it's very temptation. There is a lot of temptation to press on things without fully read it. Now, if I will take it to the cyber world, this is exactly what social engineering people or hacker want you to do. They want you to click without really understand what's standing behind it. And this is a lesson that I learned, and I'm using this on my presentation that I'm doing.
Mm. Okay, yeah, and I can definitely see a lot of parallels there between this and the cybersecurity world, especially, you know, if you're talking about social engineering attacks and phishing attacks and all that. Is there anything you would have, and you might have answered that, but is there anything you would have done differently looking back on your career? With the exception of, you know, just diving in earlier.
As I said, I started as an IT role, and I learned from this IT and after this I jumped into the cybersecurity. And by the way, without trying to blow somebody horn in here, a lot of this is related to GRC, because one of the first projects that I done, it was a PCI project with Iftach, and I learned a lot. And this actually opened my eyes into the security world. Now we're talking about years ago. But it brought me into something that it was less familiar for me in the beginning, because when we're coming from IT, we don't really learn about procedures and policy and the difference between a lawyer and the regulation and these kind of things. And Iftach opened my eyes. So I know that there is a lot of potential and a lot of advantage to come from the IT world, because you understand the technique better. But definitely, yes, it's very, very interesting, and I probably will do it earlier on this, and focus more on the cyber than in the IT.
Thank you. And, you know, covering your perceived biggest failure, what would you say your biggest accomplishment was?
This is another thing. I think one of the biggest accomplishments that I done in a company was to take this company and to go. And I'm sure that you already familiar with this, but I'm going to give a little bit about the highlights to our listener. Is to be able to finish a PCI DSS level 1 regulation in a company that failed 5 years in a row. And as I said, Iftach was very into it, and he opened my eyes, and we done it together. And this is one of my big successes, to take 1,500 employees, global company around the world that never heard about security, and to bring her into, I think, one of the highest level of the industry when it's come to regulation. Now we need to keep in mind that we are not talking about PCI proxy, and we are not talking about tokenization and this kind. We're talking about a safe environment micro-segmentation. It's like a bank. And to build it and to be able to get the certification later on, it's gave me a great pleasure.
Okay, understood. Thank you. And again, looking back at your career, the transition and the growth from IT, cybersecurity, and now founder and the provider of cybersecurity services, you've gone through a lot of, phases, changes, and personal growth. What did you use, like, with the exception of obviously you've had some people to work with, but what were the best resources that have helped you learn and helped you grow yourself?
First, I'm a very big supporter of a great team. I think that a good team will be able to achieve everything. There is one thing that we need to remember, that a good team needs good leadership. And I'm not talking about myself. I'm talking about any IT director or IT manager or anybody in the secure SLT secure level people. Everything that I done in my career was I didn't done it by myself. I did it with my team. So every project that we discussed, everything that was like a boulder for us or some kind of a showstopper, we sit down together and we think together how to solve this. And when you're doing this around the table, there is a lot of people, other people that open your eyes and give you a different point of view. So yes, I work with my team and we done it together. It's not this world of cybersecurity and corporate IT or even production IT. It's not a lonely wolf episode. It's something that everybody need to work together.
Okay, so definitely people and your team. Are there any specific individuals that you wanted to name drop here?
As I said, first, is not part of my team, but Iftach really opened my eyes, and I owe him a lot about it. There is other team members that I used to work over the years. There is Tali, that she is today my partner in Persist Security. There is Yoram, that I used to work with him for a long time ago, actually several companies in the past. There is a lot of people, and I think that a good team is something that is very difficult to. By the way, there is other two. Sorry, Mike O'Brien from the States and Mircea from Romania, and this is what's making so fun to work, because eventually it's one big happy family, even that they are on the other side of the earth, but you feel that they are part of you, and if everybody is believing on the same target, you will be able to achieve it. So I think building, if you will ask me what let's say a new position of CISO or cybersecurity expert or an IT guy will need to build around himself, it will be the best team that he can achieve.
Yeah, I agree. Please go ahead.
No, that's all.
Looking at our profession, cybersecurity, compliance, is there one common myth about this that you wanted to debunk?
Yes, there is a lot, actually, if I think about it. And one of this is that it will never happen to me. People saying to us, and we see it with our clients, but I'm not interesting, and I don't have API information, and I don't. Why there is a chance that somebody will attack this company? We off the radar. It's not interesting, and for people that coming from Israel, there is a lot of noise and a lot of hassle around the Iranian cyber capability and how they can attack Israel. So, and this is on the news on a daily basis. So people say, but I'm not interested in the Iranian. What they are failed to understand that today, the organized, let's leave the Iranian on the side. The organized crime is in the darknet. People doing this for money, and money is the best way to get people move. So it's not really important if you think about yourself as a target, it will happen. If you will take it across the time that the company exists, it will happen at least once or two, depend if you will be able to notice this. And we can see it all around. You have a company and you said, I have an antivirus and I have a firewall and I have this and this and this, and eventually you are installing some kind of a XDR or EDR, and you see that there is Trojan horse installed on the machine. And you say, you see, you're already a cyber victim. If there was a damage or there wasn't a damage, it's not making a difference, but somebody is sitting in your systems. And this is something that people fail to understand. The fact that they are not noticed them, they are not getting any ransomware request, or they are not creating any damage, it's not meaning that they are not there. Mm-hmm. They are, the attackers, they are there, and then they just waiting for the right time. And this is something that CEOs and executives in company needs to remember this.
Yeah, and I think just to add more color to this, I think supply chain security is extremely important, and I think even the U.S. I think the U.S. government had understood that a few years ago, and as you probably know, they published the CMMC framework probably almost a year and a half, 2 years ago already, and it had like one very big objective in mind, which is to secure the U.S. DoD supply chain. Because as you said, even if you think you're not on the radar, even if you didn't experience any perceivable incident or breach, they might or might not be in your systems, especially if you cater to someone that has a lot of interested parties or enemies. So yeah, and this is something that's very important to understand, because almost every company is in someone else's supply chain when you come to think about it. And yeah, the risks are real. And
I know I think you can even divide the time frame into two: before Stuxnet and after Stuxnet. And this is what changed the world to understand that, guys, there is somebody that can really hit our SCADA system. This can really hit our stoplight system or our banking account on system and create this some kind of let's say a cyber war in that it's directed by government, directed by countries. And this is what changed the cyber. Before this, there was groups, there was anonymous, there was other things, but nobody saw it as a cyber weapon. And now people understand that it's a weapon, and you can see it with NotPetya, and you can see it with the attack on Ukraine and other things, that people using this to create the mess on the other side. So definitely, yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Switching gears here, I wanted to learn a bit more about your company and like your mindset in how you work with your customers. So if you could provide some information here, like what markets do you operate in? Do you have like a specific sector, a niche market? Yeah.
Yeah, so Persist is actually expert in the small SMB business size. We create something that, it's a buzzword. There is a lot of people that are using this, but we're trying to make it much more real. We're using security as a service, or we're selling security as a service. But we are doing this in order to make sure that the small or medium company will enjoy not less security than enterprise organization. So if this as we're selling MDR as a services, and it's fully MDR, so we manage it to people or to company that don't have the time, effort, and knowledge to invest into IT and to security. We are selling CISO as a service, as you're probably aware. So we're giving people that are coming with 15 years or 20 years expertise to companies that not really need, we don't know if they need a full-time CISO on their headcount. So we're selling this in hours, we're selling this in part-times. But eventually the client is getting a full MDR, and is getting a SOC, and is getting a CISO, and is getting the regulation, the phishing campaign, the training, and the audit and the penetration test, the same as every other company or let's say enterprise organization. By doing this, I think we can mark that we are taking the level of security of SMB and take it much more higher. So this is the main idea of Persist Security. This is what we are doing. Another thing that we are doing is to try to maximize the current security system that the organization have. Because think about it, we are talking about small or medium organization that not always have the knowledge And if you are taking a firewall and that is like flat installation and start running SSL strip and start looking into encrypted tunnels and start scanning the files for viruses, you can jump this organization in the level of security several steps up. So this is what we are doing. We're taking an organization, we're looking into it, we see what is the missing part, and we try to find, or let's say tailor-made the best solution for them in a reasonable price and without actually hurting their security service level.
Okay, thank you. And what are the most common challenges that you see your customers are faced with?
Well, there is a lot. One of them is knowledge. I'm not talking about our professional team. I'm talking about our customers. It's knowledge. To be a well-secure company, you need to understand the technique behind it. You need to understand networking. You need to understand regulation. You need to understand Office 365 or any kind of other cloud provider that you work. And this information, most of the time, is missing in the companies. They have one IT guys or two IT guys that running around and dealing with laptops all days and don't really have the time to invest and look into their system. And this is exactly where we come in. We come in, we're sitting, we examine the system, we're doing the penetration test that we need, and then we sit with the management and say, okay, this is what you have, and the effort in order to fix it will cost you, I don't know, 5 days, 10 days, 2 weeks, 2 months, and so on. And we are taking them from one place to a different place in the level of security, and then we maintain the same level of security. So this is one of the things. The other things that I think is, except knowledge, is probably budget. And this is another thing that we're trying to maximize system, as we said, and to see what the organization already have. I come across with a lot of organizations that have amazing antiviruses, but nobody even think about creating some kind of like a weekly scan on what is the difference between protected and unprotected, and a flash scan or not a flash scan. And people need to understand what they are doing with these systems. The fact that you bought an antivirus, it's not meaning that you know how to configure it correctly. Or if you have iTunes in Office 365 and this system have an amazing capability and you're not using, I don't know, 70% of it, so why are you paying for this? And this is exactly where we coming in and help our client on this. Another thing that we are doing is trying to, let's say, provide a view into the offensive cyber world when it's come to social engineering. So we created a plan. It's a 2-hour plan that we are sitting, and it's a front presentation. We are sitting with people and we show them how hacking or hackers using social engineering in order to get to their system. So for example, if I will take my iPhone, you can send a text message to somebody else and open the camera or open the microphone from remote, even that you are not using tools like Pegasus or any other things. You're just using something that's called WebRT inside the Safari capability on the phone. You just need to have the right text message in order to people to open it and to understand why they need to improve the location services or the microphone services and so on. So we actually show them in this presentation how we hack their phone, how we are mimicking the website, what is the importance of two-factor authentication, and even a view into future, or let's say the next wave on cybersecurity, like deepfake. We already see the beginning of deepfake frauds, and we want them to understand that they may be talking with their boss, but it's not really their boss. And this is what we're giving them. And the aspect that they are getting exposed to this is actually bring the level of security of the organization several steps higher.
Okay, thank you. And as an external vendor yourself, you probably need to work with other vendors from time to time. What do you feel about what are your advices on how to play well together with someone that could be potentially a competitor?
Have your circle of trust. I know that I have. I'm working with people. First, I'm a person of people, so I'm working with people in years, and you probably know it better than me. I have my own circle of people that I'm working with, vendors, managers, or vendors executives. And this is the circle that I'm working with, and we know where is the limit. We know where is the limit, and the limit of ourselves even. For example, if somebody will come to Persist and will ask, and I know that I'm talking a lot about GRC, but it's a good example because people know you. But if people will come to me and say, listen, Paz, can I use you for a PCI auditing? So my answer probably will be no. I can escort you to get to the right level, but I cannot give you I'm not a QSA, and I cannot give you the certification. And for this, you will need to work with GRC. So this is something that we are doing, and we had this experience. We done it just a year ago, or not a year, less than a year, with one of my customers. It's called, her name's Selena. And we done a PCI audit for Selena that we escort them to get to the right place. And the people that actually given the certification was GRC. And this is again, trust between people, that I know that I can trust GRC, and they know that they can trust Persist. And we have it with other vendors. We have it with Palantir. We have it with other vendors that we work in. And I think this is not everybody is a competitor, and money is playing a game, but you want to be human and you want to be a good friend as well. So this is when you need to put it on the side.
Yeah,
I'm willing to lose, I don't know, $100,000 on the project, and not lose one of the vendors that I'm working with.
yeah, and I think it comes, personally speaking, I think it comes from maturity to understand that nobody can do everything perfectly, and everybody has their strong suits. So really, at the end of the day, you really want your customer to be happy, and for that, you need to be able to play nicely and collaborate with perceived competitors on a daily basis.
I totally agree. There was one of my bosses a long time ago told me, listen, and this was before I jumped into more executive position. He told me, listen, Paz, if there is anything that you learn here, is before you become a big manager or a owner of a company or whatever, be a real person, be a good person. And this is, it's the fundamental base for everything else. If it's leadership, if it's building a team, if it's building a company, if it's being a good husband, or if it's being a good friend, but it's the basic, and I totally support this.
Great. Let's talk a bit about the difference between a virtual CISO role and a full-time CISO role. Now, you've done both. In your opinion, what's the biggest difference between the current role of a virtual CISO? And again, it doesn't matter if you're the one who's doing that or anyone on your team, but between that, the vCISO, as opposed to the CISO role.
Okay, so the first challenge that the vCISO will have is to feel part of the organization. And I think this is the main boulder for vCISO. He's not part of the organization. He don't know the right people. He's not always approachable. Not everybody know his phone number and these kind of things. When it's come to real CISO, everybody knows them. You have to make an interest, and to make sure that people will know where to come if security happened or they need anything else, and to make sure that the security is in the right place. And one of the things that I think will make or contribute to people that using vCISO as their role is to understand the organization. Even the fact that you are not part of the organization, you are not getting paid from the same vendor, but learn the organization, learn the people, sit with them, give them your phone number, give them your email, make sure that you are presented it, that you have an open door policy, and they can come and discuss with you everything that they fear, because you don't want to miss personal relationship is very important to the succeed of the vCISO. But on top of this, you want people to come and tell you what they are seeing. If somebody is trying to do a social engineering on them at 2:00 in the morning, they need to call somebody. They need to feel protected. They need to feel that somebody is backing their back, and this is when you are coming to play into the game. You cannot present yourself as, I'm a vCISO, it's not Monday and it's not Tuesday, so I'm not working for you. This is not how it's works. If you want a vCISO to succeed, you're working Monday and Tuesday, but you are available in the rest of the week.
Mm-hmm.
You are there for them. So this is what I believe, this is what we are doing. But this is, again, I think one of the biggest challenges to this role. It's a difficult role to jump between organization, learn them, and to be able to play like this. But if you are good and you feel part of the organization and you let the user feel the same way, it will be a success.
And a follow-up question on that, do you think there is a big advantage for an organization to work with a virtual CISO as opposed to a full-time CISO?
I think that the virtual CISO will be better for organization because the organization can enjoy the expertise of this CISO when he's seeing a lot of company, when he's coming and already exposed and was involved in a lot of scenarios. When it's come to one CISO that is coming right now, he's finished university and he's coming to work for you, and he didn't saw anything, and he don't have the expertise or don't have the experience, and even if he is a very mature CISO with a lot of expertise, once it's going to cost you a lot as organization. And second, you can get it in maybe half of the price if you will use a vCISO. The fact that it's a vCISO, as long as he will be really engaged with the organization, he can contribute with his own experience and with his own professional level that he saw in other places. And one of the things that CISO is supposed to do, and I know there is a lot of them that are doing this, but there is a lot of them that is lesson learned. And if you take a lesson learned from one organization and then reflect it on a different organization, you can save a lot of problem. You can save a lot of security events. So use your experience in one place and share it with others. So this is the main advantage of it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. And personally, my thoughts about that is that I think virtual CISOs are great for certain levels and sizes of organizations. And I think an organization would benefit out of a virtual CISO that's basically it's not a single individual. They usually have, a support structure in place.
A group,
a group that supports them.
It.
And the accumulated knowledge of these individuals would probably contribute to certain types of organizations more than just a single chief information security officers. I do feel that it's in some cases, and once the company is large enough and complicated enough, the decision to hire a full-time CISO would probably come from either the CEO or the board of directors, because that would be like a check the box thing that they would need, and they would need like a full-time support. So, but definitely, I think right now with the way the market is right now, I think there's a lot of growth opportunities for virtual CISOs out there. Because money is not as easy. It's still easy, but it's not as easy to come by as it was, let's say, a year ago. And a lot of those unicorn companies that spent a lot of funds on ramping up their security operations would probably want to scale down a bit. And I think a fractional or virtual CISO is a good opportunity for that. So if I had to guess, we'll probably see growth in that market.
Correct. And the fact, as you said in the beginning, the group is something that is very, very basic. The same for every expert. You have his group of people that they're consulting with them. And these CISOs, because they're working with group that come with a pen tester and a social engineering expert and a technical and a regulation and so on, they always have who to ask the questions. And this is giving a lot of experience that the organization actually benefit from a lot of different expertise that they can channel through these CISOs.
Yeah, for sure. Now, if I were to speak to any one of your customers, what do you think they would say? What would they say about liking most about working with you?
First, you're more than welcome to ask them. I think they will say that they are enjoying working with me or with Persist. Persist is the name of the company. I'm sorry for jumping in, but I'm saying this a lot and I didn't explain. But they're enjoying it because we are not, in Hebrew, there is a sentence, take you to the rabbi. We are not taking them to the rabbi on every small details. If they have a problems, the first thing that I'm telling my employees and my team is help them. If somebody is coming with a problem, first help them. We can argue about the check later on, but let's solve the problem. Let's see how we can let them feel close to us as a customers, that they are not outsiders, that they are that we are taking step in order to help them. So if you will ask them, I believe that they will say that we are part of their organizations. And in order to support this, I'm asking them, each one of the customers, to give us our own mailbox into the organization that we will be able to communicate with the organization people. We really try to color ourselves in the color of the organization, make sure that people don't think that this is really an outsider person. But I think they're happy. I didn't get complaints till today, so I think they're happy.
And who would you say is your ideal customer?
Wow, this is a good question. I think that the ideal customer will be a mid organization, let's say till 2,000, 3,000 users that don't have really the effort, the time, or the manpower to invest in security. And this is where we can come and make the change. We can come, we can evaluate, we can create a working plan, sit down together with the team and to see how we can solve it and how we can jump step by step in order to improve the security of this organization. In any organization that we are jumping in, we're doing some kind of let's say, a risk analysis, let's call it like this, in the beginning. And then we put it in Excel and say, okay, this is what we need to do. Let's see how we can do it best and what is the time frame to do it. And by doing this, first, the customer know that he's being taken care of. And second, we don't lose track. We always know what needs to be done. We always know what is the risk level that we are standing in. Yes, this is how we are doing this.
Okay, so this was your ideal customer, and this is maybe a slightly awkward question, but what qualities you don't like in a customer? The type of qualities that would dissuade you from working with someone.
So technically you ask if I fire a customer.
Well, let's be more politically correct. I'm asking like with which customers that, obtain sort of like certain qualities you won't like to do business with.
To be honest, I was thinking that I will never need to be in this step before, and I was surprised how many people there is out there that they are good people. But yes, there is customers that you don't want to do business with, and we had this experience at least with one of them. That I really want, or I really push my team and myself to be a proactive part in the organization, to do whatever they will ask. We are not charge you. We will not argue with you. We will do whatever you want in order for you to feel safe and to be first to be safe and to be comply, whatever. And if you try to pick me on the small things, I will not appreciate this. And I had the experience to work with one of them. This was really depressing because you are doing a great effort in order for them to be happy, and they are happy, but they are not really giving you the best treatment as well. So there is customers that you need to run after them for payments, like any other companies that they don't have the moral, let's say, policy to pay on time, or because you're a small company, or they feel the right that they can do this. And I always ask myself if they will go and buy, I don't know, in the supermarket, and they will be able to say, oh, yeah, but I will pay you in 60 days. And after 60 days, they say, yeah, but it's going to be on the next invoice. And so there is customers like this as well, but we try to look on the positive side.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I know what you're talking about, but
yeah, but I have to state it out. Not all of them like this. The majority of them are great customers and friends, and we are not going to let 1 or 2 or 3 or 16 customers change the color of it. But I agree with you.
well, thank you. And we're almost at the tail end of this episode, so just a couple of questions to wrap this up. Where can our listeners find you online?
We have a website, www.persistsec.com or persistsecurity.com. So this is where they can find us. We have a LinkedIn. We are in Facebook. We're all over the place in the media. But of course, they can call us. They have the phone on their website, and they can call us or mail us, and we will be there to help.
And personally, you personally, where can they find you? On LinkedIn or?
LinkedIn, of course, yes. I'm on LinkedIn, or just put, I don't know, the Batman sign in the sky, and I will appear. But yes, but on LinkedIn, yes, I'm there, definitely.
Got it. And one final question: if money was never an issue, what would you do with your life?
Oh, this is a good question. Probably, I don't know. I'm enjoying shooting very much, so I'm probably going to compete on this because it's a very interesting sport for me. Now I need to think how to combine shooting and the Caribbean. But after this, we're good. This is. I think people need to enjoy life. It's very short, and it's come with a lot of nice and not nice surprises. And we want to achieve the best that we can to remember it. It's not making a difference how many money you have and how many good-looking women you dated, or how many cars you have and what kind of watch you're wearing. It's meaning what you've done and what other people will say about you 10 minutes after you're gone. And this is what I believe in. I think people need to be remembered by being a good people, a fair people.
Okay, thank you. Well,
No problem.
Paz, I enjoyed our talk today and learning more about you, your business, and your answers to my questions. I'm hopeful they would help some of our listeners along the way. Any final notes?
It was great, and thank you for having me on this podcast. And as I said, I really owe GRC a lot on my professional life, and thank you for this. I appreciate this.
Thank you.